All right, deer jerky, let's start making some. So this is probably the most ambitious amount of meat, venison, that I've tried to turn into jerky. And as you can see, this is going to be very, very time consuming just to cut all this stuff up. I don't have a meat slicer, so I'll show you how I do it without a meat slicer. If you've watched my channel before, I've already made this video before, but I thought I would just go a little more in depth for it, and I didn't have a good camera back then either. But here's a little sneak peek at the ingredients. That's most of them. Some of them are in the fridge, but I'll lay them all out and I'll put all the ingredients in the description anyway. So there we go. On to the next part. All right, guys, we're on to the part where we're cutting up the meat to make into jerky. You want to cut it fairly thin, as thin as you can get away with cutting it. And I'm actually going to skip the part this year where I roll it flat. It seemed to make no difference last year, and it mostly was just a pain. So over here, as I'm cutting the meat, I'm weighing it up to 1 pound, because this recipe that I'm going to do calls for 2 pounds. So I only have a 1 pound scale, so I'm just doing 1 pound, into the bag it goes, then another pound, into the bag it goes. And then I'll take all these ingredients and I'll put all the dry stuff in containers, and I'll put all the wet ingredients into a cup, a measuring cup. And then as I'm doing the 2 pound bags, I'll add it all into the bag itself as a 2 pound recipe, because that's what it is. It just plays easier in my head as I do it. And I was going to show you, I've been also using the straight knife because I made the cardinal sin of letting the meat thaw a little bit too much, to where it's just a little bit harder to cut. If you have partially frozen meat, it tends to cut more uniform. It just does. It's easier to cut, and especially with an electric. But I'll show you another cut here, and it's just, if it's not frozen, just know it's going to take you longer. It's just, you can't just, you know, go at it like I normally want to. That's the cutting it up part, and we'll get back with you on the next step. All right, so this part I thought I'd throw in. This is just taking like the fat and the silver skin off. You don't really want that. Not that it matters if a little bit gets in there, but you really don't want to eat that. And you can actually trim the meat right off of it. So just showing that, you don't want that in there. That's garbage to me. And these thicker pieces, it is better with the electric. This is the roast. I'm using, you know, a lot of different cuts for this jerky, not just the roast, but I'm using a lot of chops and a lot of and one set of steaks to make this. You can use whatever you want, but it all goes to the same purpose. So that's what I wanted to show you on that part. All right, 4 hours later, I got 12 pounds all in 2 pound bags, just so it makes it easier on me, because I'm not a mathematician. And I got all the ingredients lined up. I will have these in the link below, but that's all of them. And I'm just going to make, like I said, 2 pound batches out of all of it. And you know, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, Tony's, meat tenderizer, soy sauce, liquid smoke, Worcestershire, and Dale seasoning. This is the only thing I use that's really name brand. I mean, everything else is just kind of generic, but I'll put all the dry in one cup, all the wet in another, and then just mix it individually into the bags, and I'll show you that next. Guys, one thing I did leave out, I am adding Tony's to this, and a little bit of brown sugar as well, 2 tablespoons and a teaspoon of that. So here's all the wet ingredients. Here's a 2-pound bag. Trying not to make a mess. Going in the bag. And all the dry I just put in a cup. Right? Now we get dirty. Just keep mixing it until you think everything's covered. That's another good thing to do it in a bag. It gets filthy. So after we're done, I'll do this 5 more times. So 12 pounds. I made about 3 more pounds than I made last year. Just because everybody said, well, you should have made more. Well, it's time consuming. And I do it once a year. We'll put this bag, and 5 others in the fridge for a minimum of 8 hours. We'll probably just go overnight, and then we'll get back with you when we get to the dehydrator. Well, at this point, the jerky has cured for almost 24 hours, and we've already done 1 batch, but we are at the point where we're actually just putting the jerky into the dehydrator. It's going to run for 4 hours. We're keeping it plenty spaced out and running 2 dehydrators to save on time. You know, we can get a lot more done. It seems like I'm able to get about 3 pounds a run with 2 dehydrators. If you have a different way of running it where you can get more, do it. I'm trying to do 12 pounds, so it's going to take me probably 4 runs. 4 4-hour runs to get all this jerky made. And then, like I said at the beginning, it was ambitious. And we'll get back with you on the next part. Now, as this is running, it's going to run about 4 hours, but the thicker pieces may even be a tad bit more from what I've seen on that first batch. But you're going to want to rotate these trays. If you're using one like this, maybe once an hour, once every 2 hours, it's up to you. You just want to be moving them around a bit, top to bottom, bottom to top. And we'll get back with you on the next one. We're hot. We're running. Well, this is the final product. This is what all these hours of cutting, curing, and dehydrating comes down to. And if I could say one thing about making jerky, time consuming definitely comes to mind. There's a reason why I make this once a year, but it is very good. And I hope this has helped you. If you wanting to make jerky and was as dumb as I was when I tried to figure out how to do it, just watch this video. Have a good one, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Just one last thing to add here. Start off with 12 pounds. You know, the jerky's going to cut down to half the amount of weight or 2/3 the amount of weight of what you started out with, so you're going to lose a lot of weight. And you want the stuff to not be too chewy, but not be too soft. You know, you got to find that happy medium. And that actually takes a little while to get right. I mean, not every batch I do is exactly perfect, but you just do the best you can. And I haven't got any complaints on this batch.